We're live. What's up, everybody? So I wanted to do, it's been a while since I did a live stream, and had a good topic that I wanted to do it on. So I think it was like yesterday, I was scrolling through Instagram, Reels, whatever, and Mike Isratel popped up. It was a video about training biceps and biceps frequency for optimal growth. And it was a really dumb video. So I was just like, this guy is nuts. And we'll see the video. He said, people expect to grow their biceps training them just once a week are sociopaths. That's basically what he said, which is kind of ridiculous for many reasons. But then I started to look at his other videos, and I would say half of them are surprisingly correct. And then the other half are so far from correct and so wrong, it's insane. But some of the things I agree with him on. So this video, we're going to go through I want to say 8 Instagram Reels. And I'm going to show you the ones that are they're flat wrong. It's not even that I disagree with him. It's just they're wrong. And then the other ones, he's correct. He's kind of a pompous, kind of an arrogant, dude, but not gonna lie, a couple of videos had me laughing. I thought it was kind of funny. I think because I can see he's kind of a prick, and I kind of am too, so I could relate to him, the frustration. So some of the videos are kind of funny, believe it or not. But the arm one was just nuts. So we disagree on a lot of things, but some things are just undeniable fact, and we agree on these things. So I'm going to show you a couple of these reels. We're also going to do, we're going to do a Q&A too. Let me put up a banner. Let's see. So let's see. Fast muscle gain. So remember, if you haven't tried my Golden Era system, it's a do-it-yourself program, high-intensity training program. It teaches you high-intensity training very quickly, very straightforward, so you can start it right away. So if you haven't tried high-intensity training and you want to see very fast results with only 2 workouts a week, go to goldenerasystem.com. So let's go over some of these. Man, I haven't used the StreamYard in a while. Let's go over some of these reels. Create a little save. So I'm just going to go one by one. 6. So we got 7 here. So let's see. Let's see this first one. I can't remember which ones these were. I was just kind of going through and saving them. So I'm just going to watch them live, react to them live, tell you what's correct about them or tell you what's wrong about them.
The research is getting clearer and clearer about this.
First of all, I'm going to play this. Let me know if you guys can hear it or not, because I'm not sure. I know when I use Zoom, I have to do something that says share computer sound. But let's see. I'm going to play this. Let me know if you can hear it after I play it.
Every few months when a new study is added into the total publication list of how many sets per session per muscle are optimal. And it seems like anywhere between 3 at the low end and 12 at the high end of sets per muscle per session, like sets of chest on Monday, between 3 and 12 total sets for chest, not per exercise, seems to be right where most people get their best muscle growth. Much more than 12 sets is probably overkill. It's too many. You're so weak by then, you're barely stimulating shit. It's actually called junk volume. Anything fewer than 3 sets is like, well, if you did more sets, you could have gotten more growth. Pretty open and shut. The research is getting clearer and clearer about this every few months when a new study.
He does understand that you reach a point of diminishing returns with exercise and sets. I mean, that's obvious. But the recommendation between 3 and 12 is incorrect. And the reason is, so if you look at the studies, they don't control for intensity of effort, and they don't control repetition cadence. There's not much controls in place with how the sets performed. So what you would have to do, and it'd be very difficult to do this with a large group of people. You'd have to have a lot of observers, a lot of instructors, making sure that each individual adheres to the set's guidelines, the repetition cadence. And honestly, they should be taking them to failure, because that's the only way to identify or control intensity. How do you control intensity without taking it all the way? So when you look at these papers, they don't control how a set is performed. So if you take 50 people, you have some people do 3 sets, some people do 6, some people do 12. Well, there's a huge amount of variation in between how those sets are performed. If if someone did 3 sets the way I show on my channel and the way I show in my Golden Era system, you'd not only be stimulating maximum growth, you'd be overtraining. Now, if an individual did 3 sets like the average Planet Fitness gym goer, you'd probably stimulate nothing, because there is no controls for intensity, repetition cadence, all that kind of stuff. That's why the research is kind of pointless. The minimum effective dose of exercise is 1 set. All right. So now if you're controlling for intensity of effort, based on Henneman's size principle of motor unit recruitment, which was widely accepted, and it's a fact of neurology, muscle fiber or motor units, you can use those terms kind of interchangeably, are recruited and stimulated based on effort. The more effort you put in, the harder you push, you have more what's called excitability of the motor nerve, and more motor units, thereby muscle fibers, are contributing to that exercise. Now, the more muscle fibers we can get to contribute and fire in that exercise, the more muscle fibers will be stimulated to grow. So how do we get more muscle fiber involved in a workout? It's not volume that does this. It is intensity of effort, or intent, or intensity of muscular contraction, or excitability of the motor nerve. Okay. And this has nothing to do with volume. If you do high volume, you will be fatiguing muscle slowly over time to where your muscle will become so weak that eventually, by the 5th or 6th set, your effort goes up. You have to try harder because you're weaker. And this is why high volume still works, because eventually you get to a point where you're so tired you're actually trying really hard. Amount of effort goes up, intensity goes up, motor unit recruitment goes up, muscle fiber involvement goes up, overall stimulus goes up. So it's not that volume doesn't work. More volume does work. But he said the term junk volume. If you're doing 6 sets and only the last set pushes your body hard, then the first 5 are junk volume. They're pointless. Simply using your muscle doesn't do anything. What it does do is produce microtrauma or muscle damage and inflammation, which now your body has to recover from. So if I do 5 junk volume sets and my last 6th set is very high effort, high intensity, and I'm pushing really hard, those first 5 sets really only accumulated microtrauma and muscle damage that my body now needs to use valuable resources to repair, but with no stimulus. So remember, muscle damage does not contribute to the muscle growth stimulus. They used to think it did, but new evidence shows it doesn't. So if you're doing 6 sets and your sixth set is very hard, close to failure, or preferably all the way to failure, and the first 5 sets are not, the first 5 sets are simply accumulating damage and inflammation with no additional stimulus. So that's junk volume. Volume training is junk volume. Volume training is just simply moving weight around and slowly getting the muscle to a level of fatigue where by the time you get to the later set, you actually have to try hard. But why not just get to the point? Why not just do one more extended 45, 60-second set instead of 6, 10-second sets, and just go from start all the way to high effort without taking breaks in between? Somebody commented on one of my videos once, and it was an extremely good way of explaining multiple sets. He said, inexplicable breaks in an exercise. That's what it is. If we have to go from fresh all the way to a high level of effort in order to get high order motor units or the most motor units, thereby muscle fibers involved, why are we taking breaks in between that process? Why do we go to 10 or go to 6, rest, go to 10, go to 6, rest? Doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, you can do it. Of course you can do it. It works. Everything. If you contract your muscles with a high enough intensity against any kind of resistance, whether that's a barbell, a machine, a resistance band, a fucking rock, it doesn't matter. You will recruit and fatigue muscle. Volume, multiple sets, is just an inefficient way of doing it. And it's really not more volume. It's less density. So what I promote, what I teach, it's not low volume. It's high work density. Instead of taking 6 sets to recruit the muscle, we're taking 1 set to recruit fatigue, all the same muscle. Instead of extending it out into six sets and taking all this time, we're just cutting to the chase. That's all it is. It's not low volume. It's high density. There's the same amount of volume generally. If I do 1 set that is 60 seconds long, and Mike does 4 sets that are 15 seconds long, it's the same thing. It's just less density. Let me answer a question here. What do you do if you plateau on this method? Everybody has a genetic limit. You will reach it. It's not up to you. Eventually, your improvements in strength and size will become so slow that it will appear to be a plateau, and it may even be a plateau. But I think people are under the impression that when they plateau, there's something they can do about it. No, you can't get infinitely big or infinitely strong. There is a ceiling, there's a limit. So what do you do if you plateau on this method? You continue training for your entire life, even if you don't see significant gains in muscle and strength compared to when you did in the beginning. Because this is a health maintenance habit. Weight training reduces the risk of every disease, cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease. It's even shown to reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So what do you do if you plateau? Nothing. You continue. You continue to train for the health benefits because it's not up to you how big you get and how strong you get. We need to remember this. People reach a plateau and then they're like, oh, well, I'm at a plateau. I got to change something to get above it. chances are you're staying at that plateau and you're going to spend 10 years trying to figure out how to get past it, but you're not, because your body is done. Your body's done. Your plateau may be lower than your expectations. You may want to be 220 pounds, all muscle. Your genetics may say 175. You may want to bench 450 pounds. Your genetics say 315. Based on your skeletal geometry, based on your nervous system, 315 may be it. There's nothing you can do. You cannot sculpt and mold and shape your body into whatever you want it to be. The fitness industry compelled people, made billions of dollars convincing them that, but the truth is you can't. But what you can do is be so fucking ridiculously healthy and virtually bulletproof for the rest of your life. Bulletproof. Anecdote. My resting heart rate is in the high 40s. I stepped on the scale naked, no food today at 216. Okay? 71 inches tall, just under 6 feet, 216. My resting heart rate is like 47, 48. My blood pressure, perfect. Healthy. You can maintain this like forever. I've had clients. So remember, guys, I'm not just like this YouTuber that came out of nowhere, okay? I owned 2 personal training studios for 7 years. I supervised and instructed 50 to 70 one-on-one workouts for 7 years. Do the math, that's over 20,000. I have my clipboard from my studio right here, and I recorded every single workout. 20,000. What did I notice? A lot of my clients were older. What I noticed is them improve their quality of life so much just from training once or twice a week. Clients in their 70s and 80s, things stopped hurting. They were able to go hiking, able to go biking, things they couldn't do before. So what do you do if you plateau? You continue to train so you can be like them. And you'll be 10 times better than them because they actually took 40 years of doing nothing. I would train them for, 4, 5, 6 months, and they would bounce back so much in terms of physical capacity, body composition aside, obviously that improved. So you continue training forever. So that way, that never happens to you. If you continue to train properly, efficiently, safely, you're going to be 75 years old. My uncle is 69, 70. He still snowboards. Why? Because he works out and he hasn't hurt himself in the process. Fucking snowboards at 70. I couldn't believe it. All right, it is just keep training to failure. And if you are not able to yet, you're a beginner, you can do 1 extra set. Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I recommend, in my coaching, I recommend people do 2 sets in the beginning because your ability to train to failure isn't very good. Your perception of failure is probably off. People stop far short of where they could. So the additional set will be helpful. So it's true. That's true. All right, guys, let's, I'm going to check another one. And so, he's, there's nothing wrong with volume. Well, keep in mind, Mike Isratel, his brand is Renaissance periodization. His brand is built off of reps in reserve. The opposite of his brand is training to failure. So it's very likely he's going to oppose training to failure to protect his brand. I mean, I don't blame him. It's his brand.
Quick fixes in general just suck more. The benefit is that they're quick, but where the fuck are you rushing? And that's my kind of a really big question. Is when people say, I want to lose this weight really quick. I used to be a personal trainer for a long time, and people would come into the gym and say, hey, I weigh 200 pounds. I want to be 150. I want to get it off as fast as possible. And I was just stuck, and I never said this to anyone, but I always wanted to be like, do you think you're among the first million people that had the idea that you wanted this weight off immediately? Like my wife says, I wanted it off yesterday, but we don't have a fucking time machine. Don't be so audacious to think like, oh, I'll just get it off as quick as possible. There are trade-offs to that. Getting it off really quick is possible, but the probability that it comes back on is now much higher. It is in your best interest, if you're very serious about losing the fat and keeping it off, to do it slow, to do it right, to do it properly, to take breaks when needed, etc.
100% correct. And this is something you would learn training people, as Mike has. Anything that is done very quickly, generally, the results are not as good as they could have been if you've approached it more slowly, and they're generally temporary in terms of weight loss. Okay, this is completely true. People want to lose weight fast. Fast weight loss doesn't work. Okay, if you lose weight fast, it's very little fat tissue, mostly glycogen, water, and undigested food. If you can lose 10 pounds in 1 or 2 days, mostly glycogen, mostly water, mostly undigested food, not fat. Just like there's a limit to how much fat you can burn per day. So keep in mind, quick fixes, they don't work. Just like Mike says, they don't work. And if they work, it's temporary. If there's a fast weight loss protocol, it is because you're not losing fat. You're excreting waste, glycogen and water, and it's coming right back on. So this is something I 100% agree with him on. And when I saw it, it was great. Let's look at this one.
All the time, people say, I want to get my biceps bigger. I train them once a week. Motherfucker, do your biceps take 1 fucking week to recover? Are you out of your fucking mind? Sorry for swing.
First of all, this is one I disagree with. Couple reasons. One, the part where he says, do you think your biceps take 1 week to recover? This is a huge, huge myth among the fitness industry that the biceps are a smaller muscle group. They are not. I learned this from Drew Bay. If you remove the muscle bellies from your upper body, put them on a scale, they're going to all be very similar in weight, meaning they're all very similar in size. Some muscle groups appear to be larger because they are displaced and spread over your torso. My chest appears to be larger because it's spread over my sternum. My biceps appear to be smaller because they're kind of wrapped a little bit around my arm. They're like this. Your triceps appear to be smaller, but they're actually some of the largest muscles in your body, the triceps. So the belief that the biceps are a smaller muscle group anatomically is wrong. Also, who says smaller muscle groups recover faster, even if they were smaller? Who knows? Your recovery ability is going to be based on genetics, fiber type distribution, just your tolerance in general. Some people's gigantic quads may recover quickly. Some people's triceps may take a week. Who knows? Varies. So this is wrong. Another reason this is incorrect is that if you're training your biceps directly with curls only once a week, that does not mean you're training your biceps only once a week. The function of the biceps, the primary function of the biceps is elbow flexion, okay? If we are doing an exercise which involves elbow flexion against resistance, like a row, a pull down, we are also working, training, and stimulating the biceps. Just because other muscles are involved in a pulling movement doesn't mean these biceps are not effectively worked, because they are. Without the biceps heavy involvement in a pulling movement, there would be no pulling movement. You can't, your rhomboids, trapezius, rear delts, lats, they could, retract the scapula, but how am I getting the weight from here to here? It's all your biceps. So your biceps are heavily worked in all pulling movements. So if you're doing an upper body workout twice a week and then just training the biceps directly once a week, you could be training the biceps 2-3 times a week. But just because you're not removing the involvement of other muscle groups and just training them directly, that does not mean you're not training them. So this is where he's wrong. Personally, I train biceps maybe once every 2 weeks because I find they get so destroyed on the pulling movements that I've noticed over the last 2 years. If I were to go to do a biceps curl after doing a pull down and a row, they were shot. Meaning, doing an additional biceps curl is just accumulating damage, inflammation, micro trauma with no additional stimulus. So now it's just going to make it harder to recover. That's what you got to be careful with. So it's incorrect because I don't know if you guys noticed, my arms are not exactly small, are they? 17 to 18 inches. I train biceps once every 2 weeks. Granted, I've been doing this forever, but it's incorrect. One comment was Mike Mentor enters the chat. I know. I mean, it's not, they say the exception doesn't whatever the rule, but if you're adamant that you need to train biceps more than once a week to get them to grow, if that is your rule, well, Mike Mentor disproves it. I disprove it. A gazillion people in my coaching disprove it. By the way, guys, if you want private coaching, click a link in the description, join my coaching group. We meet twice a week on Zoom, recorded calls, and we go into a lot of detail about exercise science concepts. Also, I monitor your diet. I monitor your training. I do demonstrations. I take my clients through virtual workouts. If you want a resource that will make you an expert in exercise, if you're a trainer or just a trainee, and also help you get the best physique you've ever had, click the link in my description and book a call to learn more about my coaching. It is the most valuable thing that you will ever do for your body is join my coaching. All right, I'm going to go through some questions before we get to the next video. Very common question here. What should I do in recovery days? The answer is whatever you want besides weight training. It's that simple. Recreational activities or low intensity activities, sports, they're not going to interfere. Do whatever you want. You don't need to do something for the sake of improving your results, however. For instance, if you did nothing on your recovery days, your results would be the same if you did something on your recovery days. What are your thoughts on arm isolation work versus Doug McGuff's just do the big five, it's enough? Well, that's not Doug McGuff's viewpoint. A lot of people misinterpreted that. Let me think. Where's my Body by Science book? I don't know where it is. But if you have the book Body by Science, go to the chapter where it says the big five and read the first 2 sentences. What it says is this is a starting point. A lot of people thought that Doug McGuff's recommendation of the big five was optimal. But literally in the book, the first sentence, Doug McGuff says it is a starting point. So nowhere in that book does it say those big 5 exercises are optimal for muscle growth. First of all, there's no such thing as an isolation exercise. You cannot isolate a muscle. You can drastically increase its involvement and work it more directly, but you cannot work a muscle without any other muscle contributing to it. Okay. No such thing as an isolation exercise. For instance, if I do a biceps curl, standing biceps curl, I am drastically increasing the relative involvement of the biceps and decreasing the involvement of other muscle groups, but other muscle groups are involved. Shoulders, lower back, glutes, hamstrings, they're all involved in keeping you upright. They're just not involved enough to work them. You're not isolating the biceps. You are just removing the relative involvement of other muscle groups enough to where they do most of the work. Doug McGuff does not recommend the Big Five is the best. Okay. Many people, I think, didn't read Body by Science. And then people spread the Big Five as if it's the holy grail of training. It's not. People should do other movements. The Big Five alone will not get most people to their genetic potential. Everything is most, everything is majority. There are exceptions, obviously. Let's see. Okay, let's go over a couple more videos here. What's that one? What's this?
At the health store, which supplements have a robust, notable, real-world effect that makes a big difference in your weight loss results on either how much calories you're burning, how many calories you're burning, rather, and or how much food you're taking in via hunger? Well, the answer is supplements with stimulants in them. And that's really kind of it. Non-stimulant thermogenics, big fucking joke. And supplements that reliably reduce your hunger, they just don't have them at the health store.
This is 100% true. All right. A lot of people are looking for the next best fat burning supplement. The truth is, you are not going to find a supplement that will burn significant amounts of fat through controlling your appetite or increasing your metabolic rate. So the way to burn fat faster is they have appetite suppressants and they have things that speed up your metabolic rate. Those are controlled substances. Okay. You're not getting them at the health store. They are generally kind of like amphetamines and appetite suppressants. What's that one called? I don't know what it's called. But these are things you get from a weight loss clinic or doctor. They're not at the health store. So he's correct. If you think you're going to buy something that is going to have a, like this, I like the way he puts this, a real world noticeable effect on your fat loss. If you think you're going to get something that does that from the health store, you're not. And that's another thing we have to focus on. Real world noticeable effects. The fitness industry loves to come up with stuff that does this and does that and all these hacks. You know, fucking, you know, shower laying down or do an ice bath, balancing an apple on your head to help with whatever the fuck. Are these little hacks going to have real world noticeable effects? No. Is L-carnitine going to have real world noticeable effects? No. Is yohimbine? No. So it's true. You're never going to find something at GNC that has noticeable real world effects on fat loss. Just the way it is.
The research is very clear that, you know, going all the way to failure is not the best idea. And then they'll say, well, my favorite bodybuilder does. Well, that's because you're cherry picking your favorite bodybuilders. And then they'll say, well, what about?
Well, disagree. The research, which includes multiple set training in combination with failure, does show it will not result in the best response. because it results in overtraining. So this is under the assumption that multiple sets and multiple exercises are needed for growth, which is wrong. If you combine multiple sets and multiple exercises, and you're doing all your sets and all your exercises to failure, yes, there will be adverse effects. So this is something, the research that shows failure is bad, this is what it does. It uses multiple sets, multiple exercises, and overtrains the subjects. And the ones who are not going to failure are not overtrained, so they see better results. You must adjust the volume and frequency, reduce, if you're going to train to failure. It is not going to be less effective. It is going to be more time efficient. You can train 3, 2, 4 reps in reserve and do more volume if you want, if you're training hard generally. Well, here's the thing. Also, if you're a bodybuilder, it is not going to matter what you do. If you're taking 1,000 milligrams of tren, you can do high intensity, high volume, blah, 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 blah. You're still going to get fucking huge. But we need to talk about normal people here. Normal people. Higher volume is not going to be sustainable with your life schedule. You know, you got to do something that you can stick to. My dog is clicking his teeth. That's weird. A higher intensity, higher density, more efficient approach is going to be something you can stick to forever. Okay. But if you're a bodybuilder, sure, you can do more volume. He says, you know, you're cherry picking bodybuilders. Are we? Because we're talking about some of the most prolific bodybuilders of all time. Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia. Mike Benser, Mr. Universe, only bodybuilder ever to win a competition with a perfect score. Casey Viator, 19 years old, won the Mr. Universe. Youngest guy ever to win the Mr. Universe. Sergio Oliva, only guy to ever beat Arnold Schwarzenegger. Boyer Coe. Are we cherry picking? No, we're not cherry picking at all. Many bodybuilders do a volume approach, but if we're looking at, you know, some of the most prolific bodybuilders of all time, a lot of them train to failure. So the thing is, like, you know, it's not cherry picking. And when people say, you know, people who advocate high intensity training cherry pick the research, no, it is the actual opposite of that. When I say the vast majority of research suggests training to failure is more effective, that means the vast majority of research concludes training to failure is the best approach. How is vast majority cherry picking? It's not. If you were to refute the recommendations I give on exercise, you would be cherry picking, because quite basically what I'm teaching is what the vast majority of research suggests. That is not cherry picking. If you are going to accuse someone of cherry picking, chances are you're cherry picking. Okay? If I look at 200 studies, or you know, for instance, the study done by James Fisher and James Steele looked at 50 studies on muscle growth and exercise, and concluded that the vast majority of them showed increasing training frequency doesn't increase growth. The vast majority of them showed training to failure provides a better growth stimulus. The vast majority of them showed what was the other point I wanted to make? Frequency, volume, range of motion. The vast majority of them showed larger range of motion does not result in more muscle growth or strength. Okay, we're talking about the majority. That's not cherry picking. That's quite the opposite. You'd have to cherry pick research to refute the principles I teach. You'd have to. Because if you could show a piece of research that opposed the principles I teach, first of all, I would tell you everything wrong with it, which is super easy. Generally, they're not controlling the repetition. And then I would show you about 10 that refuted it. It's just the way it is. I don't have a preference in this. I don't know why you think, I don't know why people think I have a preference. If volume was better, I would just do it. All right. So those are the 6 I wanted to go over. Let's go to some questions for another 10, 15 minutes or so. What's the proper way to perform 45-degree back extension? Well, I don't have the equipment here to show you, but in my coaching group, we go over exercise demonstrations and how to do it, how to do pretty much everything. All right. What happens when your body resists going to failure? It doesn't. It's just mental. Is it survival mode? No. Your brain or body will eventually stop CNS from leaving you defenseless, or is there always more? There's always more. There's always more. There's always strength in reserve, generally, unless you're fighting a mountain lion and you lose. When you're training to failure, is it going to be true, absolute no strength at all left? No. Your body always has the ability to produce more strength. That's what your nervous system has adrenaline for, epinephrine. There's always something left in the tank. And you've always, you've heard those stories about, I think one that pops in my mind, like a child was stuck underneath a car and the mother lifted the car to get the child out and broke bones doing it. Like, that's how much strength your muscles actually have and how much is left in reserve. Okay. So are you in a workout, are you getting to the point where you're literally using every bit of muscular strength you have? No. As a general rule, should you reduce training frequency when eating in a caloric deficit to lose body fat? No, but you should probably reduce training volume. Always reduce training volume before training frequency. So if you're doing 10 exercises and you're in a calorie deficit, I would cut it back a little bit. I plateaued for 2 years, but that was because I was training 5 to 6 days a week with most likely average genetics. Wasn't allowing enough time to recover. Exactly. And that's the case with a lot of people. That's why when a lot of people try my Golden Era system, they see massive improvements in the first 2 or 3 weeks. Like things that resemble like fucking magic. Better than any bullshit you'd find in a health food store, all right, or in a GNC. Because what my system teaches you to do is focus on what drives the growth stimulus, which is intensity of effort, and to reduce volume and frequency to allow you to do that. Therefore, you create a perfect environment for growth, high intensity of effort, and enough rest. Is HIIT good for beginners? High intensity training is an exercise approach based on logic and the vast majority of what the scientific research shows grows muscle. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, whether you're a bodybuilder, or you're in a wheelchair, I've had most of my clients were absolute beginners. Is high intensity training good for beginners? It is the best for beginners. And it's also the best if you're advanced. It's great for everyone. I've trained people with one leg. I've trained a guy with MS. I've trained women with double knee and hip replacements. I trained women with cancer, carpal tunnel, frozen shoulder. Like, you don't believe it. Should you train unilaterally if one side is injured? I wouldn't. I would wait for that side to be healed. So say if you injure your right arm, I would just train my legs. because the exercise stimulus is systemic. And if you only train your legs, although you're not directly stimulating the muscle group, there will be an atrophy prevention by training your legs if your upper body is injured. You will have less atrophy, possibly no atrophy, depending on how long you do it, by training the legs if your upper body is injured, or by training your upper body if your legs are injured. But I would not train unilaterally. It'll just result in an imbalance. This is true. I remember Drew Bay saying something to the effect that when you think you've plateaued, that means your neural pathways are used to the skill. So keep at it. True. Generally, when you start a new exercise, you will see a rapid improvement in the amount of weight you can use. All right. I say that terminology carefully. You see an improvement in the amount of weight you can use. I did not say strength, because the amount of weight you can use is a combination of strength, body proportions, and skill. So over time, your skill and your nervous system adapt drastically to the exercise, increasing the amount of weight you can use without necessarily an increase in muscular strength. Your nervous system, your neurological improvement will reach a ceiling within a few weeks, and you'll notice a huge slowdown in the amount of weight you can use, improving. This is because you've tapped out the neurological adaptation. This is an indication to not change anything, because now you know every improvement you get from there on out is going to be actual improvements in muscular strength and not neurological improvements. The common myth of switching up your exercise every few weeks, the only thing you're noticing is neurological improvements or improvements in skill, and confusing it with muscular strength. And very likely you're not building much strength at all, because you keep switching the exercise for the neurological improvement. And when that neurological improvement stops, you think you've plateaued. So you go to another one, you tap out that neurological improvement, and you go, and you see fucking nothing. So it's correct. When you get to the point where you feel you've plateaued, your neurological improvement for that exercise is tapped. And now every improvement from there on out is muscular strength in nature, and is the opposite. You do not want to switch it. You want to stay to it. Stick to it. All right. Would you recommend we take protein with milk to increase our protein intake? No. Just take it with water. Milk has a lot of extra calories. I mean, it's kind of up to you. If you're dieting and you're trying to maintain a calorie deficit, milk in your protein is going to be extra nonsense calories. There's no significant benefit to taking protein with milk. I mix it with water. If you get a good protein, like I like Optimum Nutrition, tastes great with water. I like vanilla. It tastes like a milkshake. Should we decrease the weight for the second set or same weight? Well, here's the thing. On the second set, if you're doing the same weight and you can't get more than 2 repetitions, then that first set was effective. I would say in the beginning, just keep the same weight. On the second set, say the first set you get 8 repetitions. The second set, you get 7 or 8 repetitions. Well, it's an indication you didn't significantly or effectively inroad on the first set. But if your first set, you fail at 8, your second set, you fail at 2, then that first set was effective. But whether or not you drop the weight, it doesn't really matter. I only have dumbbells and work out at home. Is going to failure possible since I work out alone? Yes, absolutely is. You just need to select appropriate exercises that are safe. I teach this in my coaching. My home workout program has exercises you can do at home with just dumbbells. As a matter of fact, about 3 weeks ago, I bought my father a set of those adjustable dumbbells and showed him all the exercises he can do at home with just those adjustable dumbbells. And it's quite easy to come up with a full workout with just a set of adjustable dumbbells. You know, a lot of people, want all these silly like wall mirror gym and resistance bands or X3 bar. Guys, if you get a set of adjustable dumbbells for $300-400, you'll be able to work out at home for the rest of your life. Will it be optimal? Well, probably not. And the reason isn't because the exercises are less effective. The reason is there are some things with dumbbell exercises that may prevent you from pushing as hard as you can. Whereas if you're in a machine and you're stable, you'll be able to push a little harder. So I would say, in a nutshell, most average people will probably see better results going to a gym than with dumbbells at home, but you'll see significant, excellent results at home with just dumbbells if you do it correctly. I recommend you just join my coaching. The link is in the description of this video so I can show you what to do, guide you through it, and make sure you do everything perfectly so that way you do see optimal results. All right. With a good coach, you can see optimal results with just some dumbbells, but not on your own. All right. We're going to go with one more because I do have a group coaching call. So part of my coaching group is we do these Zoom calls 2-3 times a week. Small group of us, 5 to 10. We go over things in detail, exercise science stuff like this. It's Q&A. We do it a few times a week in my coaching group. So I'm doing that at noon. If you guys, again, would like to join coaching, click the link in my bio. It will be the best thing you've ever done for your physique and your health. You'll learn things that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And you will be in the best shape for the rest of your life. How about Zone 2 cardio and recovery days? Zone 2 cardio is fucking bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I read, someone in my coaching group is a trainer at your typical big gym. And he sent me this guideline on Zone 2 cardio, Zone 3 cardio, blah, 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 blah. And it would say Zone 2 cardio does this. Zone 3 cardio does this. Zone 4 this. And I read it, and it was the most utter fucking bullshit I've ever seen. It was like hysterical how wrong and how stupid and how contradicting everything was. It's so stupid. Guys, zone cardio is fucking bullshit, okay? Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You can do whatever kind of cardio you want on your off days. Go for it. But it's not going to make a significant difference physiologically unless if you're jogging on your rest days. Your neurological efficiency will improve with jogging. Your skill will improve with jogging, and jogging will become easier. And you will interpret this as improved cardio because jogging became easier. But all it is an improvement in skill with jogging, and your body is now using less energy to jog. So you will notice an improvement in jogging if you do it on your recovery days, but it's not an improvement in your cardio. It's an improvement in your skill, okay? Testimonial, doing HIIT for 3 months, got to 100 kilogram chest press. So that's, 220 pounds for 1 minute, 27 seconds. Dude, that's really good. That's a lot. Do you still offer your body weight only routine? Yeah, it's in the description. Okay, guys, it's going to be it for me today. So I don't get burnt out from my coaching group. If you haven't yet tried the Golden Era system, I'll give you all 3 of my programs, extra 2 programs for free if you order today. I always do that when I do a live stream. So you'll get Golden Era system, arm program, and the home workout program. So if you want to work out with just dumbbells, body weight, whatever, that'll be in there too. Go to goldenerasystem.com. If you want to work with me directly and have me be your mentor and your coach, lifetime access to me as your mentor, click the link in the description, book a call with me, and I'll teach you things about exercise that are incredibly cool, interesting, and useful so you can be in the best shape for the rest of your life. All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that, YouTube nonsense. I've got some more reels A couple more regular videos coming out soon. The past 2 weeks, I took a little break, driving around the country visiting with family. My dog had surgery. It was a fucking nightmare, so I was kind of out of it. But I'm back now, and got a lot of stuff coming for you guys. All right? So pay attention, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon.